Hello everyone, my name is James Cawley and I'm delighted to be invited here this morning to talk to you all at the Foundations in Assistive Technology Graduation Ceremony 2022. Firstly, I'll describe myself. I'm a white, proud, physically disabled man and I'm wearing a kind of a brown, woolly, knitted, warm jumper and I'm sitting in my powered wheelchair with kind of dodgy gelled hair this morning. I'm also the Business Development Executive with the Irish Centre for Diversity, but I'm also a son, I'm a brother, I'm a husband, I'm a friend, I'm a co-worker, I'm a socialiser, and I use assistive technology, accessible technologies, and independent living support, such as personal assistance, to live an independent life with choice and control. A big thank you to Siobhan and all the team in Enable Ireland for asking me to speak to you this morning. Congratulations, of course, to all the graduates from the Foundations in Assistive Technology course. I know I don't need to tell this audience the importance of assistive technology or accessible technologies. As we know, assistive technology is a broad and fast evolving area, and I'd like to mention that this course for me very much lives out the philosophy of independent living. It's by having assistive technology users as contributors and by having assistive technology users enrolled that will allow the power of peer support to be encouraged, fostered and nurtured. It is designed, of course, to equip professionals, AT users and those who support us with up-to-date and relevant information that will serve us as disabled people and allies or supporters as a strong basis for working in the field of supporting disabled people's rights to choice and control, whether that's through technology or not. When I think of the word assistive technology, or when I think of accessible technologies, or when I think about independent living supports, I think of the words of freedom, of choice, of control, liberation, independence, dignity, respect, equality, equity, and human rights. I suppose I just want to tell you a small little story now that my first introduction to liberation and freedom and choice and control was when I was very young and before my powered wheelchair came about. This was the early 90s, I'm telling my age now, and when healthcare professionals believed I was incapable, inverted commas, of moving around and mucking about with my 8 siblings. Occupational therapists, physiotherapists wanted to assess me so they could decide what was best for me. I suppose I grew up in rural Ireland and I remember a local man saying to my parents who was visiting one day, it's not right that James doesn't have anything to get around and that he has to crawl everywhere. Much to my surprise, that man Eamon came back to the house a couple of days later with a plank of wood and 4 casters, which became my skateboard. I used this to get around and I used to propel the skateboard with my left foot and my right hand, but it allowed me to participate with my siblings and my school friends. Right from the top of a hill, the whole way down, I was just James. My OT at the time thought this was a genius idea, and guess what? I was assessed again and received a very snazzy skateboard with revolving wheels from the HSE, and then that started my journey into liberation, where I got my powered wheelchair. This, of course, started the journey of navigating a world that was not built for me or with disabled people in mind. Another example I remember vividly and quite often reflect back on is in primary school, for example, with my SNA, my special needs assistant Breach. She would stick my paint into soap bottles with a dispenser so I could participate and independently participate with my peers. I always tend to reflect on moments of independence when I'm asked to speak. And my point of telling you all this morning is because I always talk about my independent living jigsaw. What does that mean? That means my powered wheelchair, my Alexa, my smart bulbs, my Utillo kettle, and the voice clips that I use to communicate with friends. Quite often I'm slagged about being the king of voice clips, and I think it's simple things that can make our lives so much easier. I'm not here, I suppose, to inspire ye, but I'm here to tell everyone that we as disabled people are not the issue. Our impairments are not the issue. It's our policies, our structures, systems, and inaccessible housing, the inaccessible transport system that puts barriers in our way. And I believe, and many believe, that assistive technologies, accessible technologies, and independent living supports can remove some of these barriers in society for us. Let me finish on those words of choice and control. In Ireland, we have a bad habit of letting the professionals decide what's best for us, and in many cases it's because of the inaccessible systems, the structures and bureaucratic policies we as disabled people are expected to navigate in Ireland. My advice to anyone navigating these systems and these structures is to link with your peers, to ask for co-production and collaboration. So always being asked to be involved in your assessment process. And don't be afraid to challenge and ask questions. Remember that mantra, nothing about us without us. Talk to us as disabled people, don't talk about us. Thank you for listening and congratulations to all the graduates again. Thank you.